The last short-term cause that we're going to discuss is an issue that happened between 1912 and 1914 in the Balkan area of Europe, which we've already discussed. And this issue involved very bad decisions made by leaders of European countries. We already know that the Balkan areas contained a lot of instability. There were ethnic tensions, various national groups who wanted things like religious toleration, territorial recognition, and we've also mentioned that the European powers were competing over who could gain the most influence and profit from this region. Additionally, the Balkans have, because of its location, important ports on the Mediterranean Sea. Turkey, which was the seat of the Ottoman Empire, was definitely on the decline by the early 1900s. And the other European powers, such as Russia and Germany, were waiting for the Ottoman Empire to completely disintegrate so that they could come in and take the benefits of the area. They've been compared to vultures who seek after a dead animal. We've already talked a little bit about Serbia as well. They were the country that were very outraged when Austria-Hungary annexed Bosnia-Herzegovina. Serbia was a strong and independent little country. It was full of nationalist feelings, especially after the Bosnian crisis. Because of the Bosnian crisis, they were definitely hostile towards Austria and Hungary. And they were hostile towards the Turks because the Turks were the main people that controlled the Ottoman Empire, which had control over Serbia for quite some time and influence. The people of Serbia were mostly of Slavic ethnicity, as were many people in the Balkans and in places like Russia. Because the Serbians were stronger and independent, unlike other areas in the Balkans, Serbia kind of saw itself as a leader in building a strong Balkan confederation to free all Slavic people from outside rule. Well, obviously Austria-Hungary did not like Serbia. Number one, Serbia had expressed outrage when Austria-Hungary took over Bosnia-Herzegovina. And number two, the Serbians were trying to gather groups of people from all across the Balkans to stand up to other European powers, such as Austria-Hungary. The Russians saw this as an opportunity. They, because of the ethnicity of the people and the ethnicity of the people of Serbia being similar, drew closer to Serbia through an alliance. Now, they did this not only because of the common ethnicity, but also because there were strategic locations in the Balkans on the Mediterranean, which we've already mentioned. Russia wanted to have access to those for their economy through trade. So they definitely saw it in their interest to form a better friendship with Serbia. The Serbians succeeded in their dream of uniting the Slavic people in the Balkan League made in 1912, and this consisted mostly of Serbia, Bulgaria, and Greece. Their main goal was to get the Turks out of the Balkan area forever. And like we've said over and over, the Turks were the main group of people that controlled what was left of the Ottoman Empire. There were two wars that broke out after the Balkan League formed, the First and Second Balkan Wars. It's important for you to look through pages 22 to 23 of your book and detail the exact issues and instances involved in both of these wars. But basically, both wars were fought over disagreements, and at the conclusion of each war, there were territorial disputes, and the outside European powers were watching what was happening very closely because, like we've mentioned, they had interests and could benefit from whatever they could take from what was left of this area. These wars had positive and negative effects for the Balkan League that had been created by Serbia. Because of all of the infighting between the members of the Balkan League, the wars pretty much destroyed the coalition of Slavic people. But they did succeed in pretty much destroying what was left of the Ottoman Empire, which would finally be destroyed with the conclusion of World War I. Also, these two wars made Serbia seen as more powerful because of its leadership role that it played. They became allied even stronger with Russia, which was bad for Austria-Hungary because now Serbia is considered an extreme threat to Austria-Hungary. It would obviously be in Austria-Hungary's best interests to get rid of Serbia as a threat to their power through any means possible. If you look at page 24 of your book at the top, with the heading that says The International Situation by 1913, This is good because this paragraph pretty much summarizes the long-term and short-term causes of World War I prior to the assassination of the Archduke. I'm going to read it here. The crises of 1905 to 1913 had seen a marked deterioration in international relations. There was increasing division between the two alliance systems and an increase in the general armaments race, alongside the naval race that already existed between Germany and Britain. Nationalist fervor was rising in European countries. Each crisis had passed without a major European war, but every subsequent crisis exacerbated the tension and made a future conflict more likely. War was by no means inevitable at this stage, though. Clearly, if there was to be another crisis, careful handling of the situation by the great powers would be vital. Unfortunately, in the future, when another crisis broke out, namely the assassination of the Archduke, the great powers of Europe made very terrible decisions, which brought the world to war in 1914.